Many people say designer bags, they're a horrible investment, and they're probably right. The moment you take that bag home, the value plummets. But what if I told you that some vintage bags aren't just holding their value, they're actually increasing, and in some instances they're even beating the stock market. One bag even returned a 600% investment in just 3 years, and in comparison the stock market returned just 43%. So today we'll be asking the question, do designer bags make for a better investment than the stock market? Now, since today we'll be comparing designer bags to the stock market, I think it's worth pointing out that there are several key differences between the two. Stocks and shares, they're considered to be productive assets because they do sometimes reward you in certain ways. Now, owning a company share sometimes gives you a dividend. A dividend is what happens when a company makes a profit, which they spread to all the shareholders. The exact amount that you will get sometimes varies, but a reasonable expectation would be from 1 to 4% of your share price, which isn't too shabby. Bags, however, they are non-productive assets because unfortunately they don't reward you with a nice annual return. And compared to stocks and shares, bags have another disadvantage in that they're considered to be depreciating assets. Now, cars are considered to be depreciating assets because their value decreases slowly over time. Not only does the price of a new car drop the moment you take it home, but over time, as you drive it along, you're putting wear and tear on all of the parts. And if you drive that car long enough without doing proper maintenance, soon all you can end up with is a big pile of worthless metal, which from an investment sense is horrible. Likewise, the value of your bag can depreciate over time. You can damage the leather, it can become cracked, scuffed, your pen could leak inside, and the value goes down. That is called a depreciating asset. However, even though your bag is considered to be a depreciating asset, it is, at the end of the day, still an asset. And when I say asset, I mean a physical thing that still has monetary value to it. So it's still worth something to somebody. And under certain circumstances, the value of your assets can increase. So let's say you spend some money and you acquire yourself a vintage bag. Maybe you bought a Gucci from my store, for example. Congratulations, you've just acquired yourself an asset. Now, let's say that you look after that bag very well. You clean it sometimes, you condition the leather, you store it correctly, and you cherish that bag. But eventually, after a few years, you want to liquidate your asset, which is just a posh way of saying you want to sell your item for cash. So you list your bag and you put it on the market. And at this point, one of three things can happen. One, the bag might sell less than what you paid for it, which means you made a loss. Two, you could get your money back for that item. Or three, hopefully, you'll be able to sell your bag for more than you paid for it, which is called a profit. And we like profits. But what determines exactly if your bag makes a profit or a loss? How does the market determine the price for your assets anyway? Well, we're not going to delve very deeply into economic theory here, but I will tell you the short answer. It's human psychology. At the end of the day, an item is worth only what people are prepared to pay for it. And what a certain person will pay for a certain bag on a certain day, that will all depend on a variety of different factors. If there aren't many people in the market interested in your bag, in the brand or that model, or if there's already many examples out there for sale, then we can say that the demand is low. And what happens when the demand is low is you're going to need to decrease your price in order to attract a buyer. And in that scenario, it's quite possible you can make a loss, which is not very good. On the other hand, if there are loads and loads of people clamoring over your super rare, beautifully iconic designer bag, we can say that demand is high. And when demand is high, there's competition in the market. And what this means is, if the customer really wants that bag, they're going to have to be prepared to open their wallet and pay a lot of money for it. And in that situation, you can possibly make a profit, which is good. Now, the idea of trading handbags like stocks and shares seems to be a relatively new phenomenon. It's one that I've noticed in my shop, where I get asked from time to time which Gucci bags are best as an investment. And from my position, this can certainly be a very good thing, because it's pushing up the prices of my stock. But okay, the real question is, can investing in handbags really beat the stock market? Now, the stock market is vast and very complex. To answer that question, we first need to come up with a benchmark which we can use as a measure to compare our bags to. Fortunately, It's a fairly standard practice when you want to measure any object against the stock market to rely on the S&P 500. It's a stock market index that tracks 500 of the largest publicly traded companies in the United States. It's often used to track how healthy the American economy is doing, but in our case, we're going to be using it as a measure against which we can compare our bags to. Now, if you take your hard-earned cash and invest it in the S&P 500, you'll immediately have access to 500 of the biggest companies in America. We're talking Nvidia, Google, Apple, Microsoft, and many others. Now, these companies are constantly trying to increase their profits. Every year they want more profits, which means they grow and they grow. And for the investor, growth is a very positive thing. If you purchase shares in a company while it was still small, and that company grew and grew, then when you came to sell those shares, your shares will be worth more money than you paid for them, which means profit. And we like profit. Of course, the stock market and the S&P 500, sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down, but it's been around since 1957, so we have plenty of historical data to look at. And if you average out the trends, the ups and downs, you'll come to a figure of about 10% annual growth every year. And let's say the S&P 500 continued to grow on its average 10% every year. Now, what would your $1,000 be worth in 10 years? Well, after 10 years, your initial investment has grown to a rather healthy $2,594. Your investment has more than doubled. And if you thought that was good, if you kept that same amount of money in for 30 years, how much would you have? You'd have about $17,500 US. That's just mind-blowing. That's so much money. That type of growth is known as compound growth. What that means is the 10% growth you got this year goes on top of the 10% growth that you got from last year. And over time, even a small investment can quickly become a large investment. I mean, with a 10% compound growth, you can double your money in just 7 years. And that's why the S&P 500 is considered to be one of the greatest wealth-generating mechanisms of all time. So can your vintage handbag really compete against that? And the answer to that question is sometimes yes. And we can't really cover the topic of investing in designer handbags without talking about Hermès Birkin bags. Birkin is the supreme example that everyone thinks about when it comes to investing in bags. Now, we'll look at other brands in a moment, but the Birkin is worth mentioning because it has been shown to consistently beat even the S&P 500. Now, I think it's fair to say that Hermès Birkin bags are considered at the very top tier of designer handbags. The famous Birkin, if you're even allowed to purchase one in the first place, will set you back about $13,000 to $16,500 US. Now, compared to other brands, the Birkin is something of a strange case because they don't act like depreciating assets. And in fact, the price of your Birkin can increase even if you've already taken it home. And in fact, if you want to acquire one, you have to have been a good customer with the brand for a number of years and spent many, many thousands on their other products. Then you go on a waiting list, and after a while, you may get a call inviting you in to come and purchase your Hermès Birkin bag, so you better have your $16,000 ready. The demand for the Birkin is so high that the price has increased year on year. There is a 2016 study by Baghunter, a company that deals in buying and selling of luxury vintage, which I'll link in the description. That study tracked the price of Birkin bags from 1980 all the way up to 2015. And what they found was quite amazing, because the Birkin delivered on average per year a 14.2% growth, which, as we've seen compared to the S&P 500 with its meager 10%, means that Birkin is beating the stock market. So here we have an example of a designer bag that is actually beating one of the greatest wealth-generating mechanisms the world has ever known. If that didn't already blow your mind, then how about this one? I found an article on Business Insider that talks about a study by FashionNica, another online buying and selling platform. That study tracked the price of the Hermès Mini Kelly II. From 2022 until 2025, there was a 300% price increase. The price went from $9,200 all the way up to $36,980 American dollars. And in the same time period, the S&P 500, it was 43%. Not too bad, but not as good as the Mini Kelly II. Now, I want to quickly mention another top-tier brand, Chanel. Again, these are very expensive bags. A medium-sized Chanel classic flat, for example, will retail for about 11,000 American dollars, which is not what you would call cheap. So what does the data say about those handbags on the second-hand market? Let's have a look. It turns out they're doing rather well. Another article from Fashion United, which I'll also link below, quoted another study by FashionNica that looked at the price of Chanel's classic flats. And from 2020 until 2025, the Chanel classic flat grew at an average price rate of, can you guess, 93%. The average price went from $5,850 and increased all the way up to $11,300 US. Now at this point we have to remember to be careful, because past performance does not necessarily indicate future performance, and the price could definitely decrease at some point. But let's face it, there aren't too many people with the disposable income to invest in these top tier handbags. So I want to talk now about what I call the mid-tier handbags. We're talking about your Gucci's, your Pradas, your Louis Vuittons, your Dior's, and all the others in that range. And when I say mid-tier, please let's be clear. You're still going to be spending $1,000 to $4,000 on a handbag. So they're not cheap, really. Now, unlike the Hermès Birkin, the moment you get your mid-tier handbag home, the price has already fallen. By how much? That depends on how desirable the bag is. In many cases, you'll be lucky to get 90% of your bag's value back, which, let's face it, in investment terms, is a horrible deal. You don't need to be Warren Buffett to know that that's a horrible investment. But let's be clear, I'm not talking about brand new handbags. I'm talking about investing in vintage, pre-loved handbags. And these have the advantage because that immediate take-home price drop has already happened. You're acquiring a bag at the market rate. So now the question is, will your average designer handbag from your average mid-tier designer, will that beat the stock market? And the answer to that question is maybe yes, probably no. It all depends on a range of factors. From my experience as a vintage seller, I would say that most customers are only interested in acquiring the most iconic bags from a certain designer, the stars of the show. With Louis Vuitton, for example, they want the Speedy or the Neverfull, and they're willing to pay money for them, good money. But the Berkeley, the City Trunk, these less iconic bags have a lower demand for them, and the prices tend to be lower too, which, if you ask me, can only be a good thing for the genuine fashion lover, because they can get a quality item from a quality designer at a reasonable price. And the price of those more iconic bags do seem to be increasing. In my own experience selling Gucci, I can tell you that the famous Jackie shoulder bags are doing exceptionally well, especially those from the Tom Ford period. And actually, Jackie's Gucci bag is mentioned in a Vogue article I found online, which was looking at bags with the highest resale value. Quoting from Vestiaire Collective, the article stated that the Jackie bag increased 47% year on year. That seems to be beating the S&P 500's 10%, and it certainly confirmed to me what my instincts were saying, that these bags are getting more and more popular. Other brands mentioned in the Vogue article for great price increases include Bottega Veneta's Andiamo bag, Loewe's Puzzle Edge bag, Balenciaga's Le City bag, and Miu Miu's Adventure bag, among others. And there's even one bag that seems to have left the Earth's orbit and gone into space with the 600% price increase. Can you guess what it is? Well, it's the Rose banana bag. But okay, we've seen that some of these iconic bags are increasing in value. But what about these other lesser known bags? Will their value also increase? Let's take a look. Personally speaking, I do think there will be a general price increase for all designer bags in the coming years. And yes, the data does seem to suggest that I might be right. Now, I found one report online from a company called Market Reports World, a market research company that looked into the market for luxury vintage. And full disclosure, guys, I didn't read the whole article. It costs a few $1,000s to do that. So I'm just using the headlines, but it does seem to be a reputable company, and it does align with other data that I've seen up here. So I'm going to quote it for you. I'm paraphrasing, but it says, the global luxury resale market size is estimated at $34 million in 2026, and is expected to reach 79 million by 2035. That is increasing at a compound interest rate of 8.9%. That doesn't necessarily mean that your mid-tier designer handbag is also going to appreciate at that same amount, but it does give you a healthy indication that the market is growing at a fairly good rate. But what I think the figures do show is there are more and more people coming into the market willing to spend more and more money on luxury vintage. And when there's higher demand, the price increases. So I think it's fair to say that the price of your average bag will increase in the future. Now, a growing market does seem to suggest that you'll be able to sell your designer handbags for a small profit in the future, which, when you think about it another way, is like getting paid every time you wear your bag out, which is pretty cool, right? And even if you only manage to get your money back, think about it like this. You had the use of your handbag for a while, and when you got rid of it, it cost you exactly nothing, which is basically like getting a free handbag. But okay, what do I think the average price of an average bag will do in the next few years? Of course, I would be lying if I told you for certain that it will be going up or down, because nobody really knows. But then we've seen that the market is growing, and my own experience, I can see that my bags are going for a higher price. So I'll go out on a limb and give you some predictions. I'm going to be fairly conservative here and suggest that it would not be unreasonable to expect an average price increase year on year of, let's say, 5%. That means if you purchased a bag for about £1,000 now, then in about 5 years, it'll be worth about £1,276, which is a nice little profit. Of course, I could be wrong, but I don't think it's ridiculous to expect price rises of 5, 6, 7%, and maybe it could reach as high as 10, who knows? But there's also a risk that the market could fall. I mean, yes, we've seen that the market for designer handbags is going up, but at the same time, other categories of luxury vintage, for example, watches and sneakers, well, they're not doing so well at the moment. And unless you're crazily good with the crystal ball, we just can't really know the future. And that's part of the risk that comes with investing. So, are bags a better investment than stocks and shares? We've seen examples of bags that are not only beating the S&P 500, but smashing it. But then we have to remember that the S&P 500 has been delivering amazing 10% growth for almost 70 years now. And that's something you really need to think about when you invest your money. I mean, if the S&P 500 continues growing at 10% year on year, and you could double your money every 7 years, wouldn't your money be safer there? But if you ask me my honest truth, I think the question of whether it's better to invest in bags or stocks and shares is a silly question. This is not an either-or scenario here. I mean, you can invest in both things at the same time. Why not? Now, I'm not qualified to give you financial advice, guys, but I've read enough books, and I could be reasonably confident in saying that most investors know the importance of keeping a balanced portfolio. You shouldn't keep all your eggs in one basket, but you should spread your wealth around. A well-balanced investment portfolio might have a certain percentage of stocks and shares. You might have some cash. You might invest in physical gold. And yes, it can be perfectly sensible to have some of your wealth invested in luxury designer handbags. So that's my take on the topic. Don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this in the future. But more importantly, what do you think about it? Do you think it's okay to invest in bags? I would love to know your opinion, guys. So let's discuss it in the comments.